Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. Past 2 days, there's been some technical difficulties. I think I figured it out. I think I solved the problem. Hopefully so. Had to perform some tech wizardry. How to figure it out. Google some stuff. So I think I fixed it. I think we're back. Hopefully so. So we're back. But today we got a good variety of stuff to talk about. Talking obviously starting off with the NBA. That's the most important stuff right now. It's the most it's the talk of the town. NBA postseason, we gotta talk about it. NFL, we're going to that after that. We're talking about teams, what they need, what teams need this postseason, and talk about the NFC North. To end it off, we're talking MLB. We're going to talk about teams that have been, surprising this year. Teams that have kind of made a step, made a leap, and why, they're performing good. So, excuse me. But before we get into any of that, tips and donations. Tips and donations are always greatly appreciated. By tipping and donating, you guys are showing your support for us and showing that you guys are caring about the content that we're putting out, and we're putting out the best content that we possibly can every day. So if you do wish to tip or donate and show your support, feel free to do that by using the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream and you still want to show support, feel free to do that with the two links in the bio and in the description. Even if you don't wish to tip or donate and you still want to show your support for us, feel free to leave a comment in the live stream comment section. That's the best spot to do it. Tune into the live, listen to me talk live, and leave your own comment. I'll go off topic. If you want me to talk about something, maybe I'll change up the schedule. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. We can talk a segment on that. But by leaving a comment, it really means the world. So you guys, shows you guys are listening and you guys caring about the content that I'm putting out. So that means a lot. But like I said, if you do also want to support by tipping and donating, and you're in the live stream, feel free to do that with the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the two links in the bio and in the description. Now, with that being said, let's get into segment number 1 for today. With that being NBA Western/Eastern semifinals recaps so far. By that, I mean the two games last night. There was two basketball games last night. One in each conference. There was the not the Cleveland Cavaliers. Sorry. Actually, we had the Denver Nuggets versus the Oklahoma City Thunder in the one of the games, and the other game was the New York Knicks versus the Boston Celtics. We'll get let's talk about the Nuggets game first because that was not as enjoyable, I guess you could say, if you're a Nuggets fan, it wasn't that enjoyable. The Nuggets just got absolutely the Thunder stuck it to them last night. We'll say that the Thunder dominating, putting up 87 points in the first half, which is unbelievable. That is putting up 87 points in the first half of a playoff game. Unbelievable. They were leading by 31 at the halftime, and the Thunder just had it all. They were doing everything right. Multiple guys in their team, 8 guys in their team, putting up double-digit points. And like I've been saying, if you're gonna have guys if you want to win games, you need guys to score off the bench. You're starting 5; they need to score. And the Thunder, they did that last night. Everybody contributed. Off the bench contributed. They had third stringers in by the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth. I mean, they just played phenomenal basketball last night. Absolutely phenomenal basketball. And it was I had it on. I was watching it for the first half, and then the Nuggets were down 31, and I stopped following live. I was still following through like ESPN and live sports, but I wasn't watching it. So, but there really wasn't too much to watch. I mean, Jokic had a horrible night. He had 12 points on 6 fouls, fouling out in the third quarter, and 6 turnovers. He had a stat. It was 6 buckets, 6 fouls, 6 turnovers. Horrible stat line for Jokic. That's probably the worst game he's had this year. And, it happens to come against the best team in the West, which, it sucks. You don't want your best player to have a bad night against, the best team in the league. MVP versus MVP, SGA versus Jokic. I mean, SGA fans, Thunder fans are using this, as proper, using this. Oh, so why he shouldn't be MVP? I mean, there's always gonna be debates on that, but I still believe Jokic, even with one bad game, he's still the MVP. In my opinion, I think he's the best player in the world right now, but it's still probably gonna be SGA winning it. So that's just how it is. But yeah, overall, it just wasn't a very good game. No one played good for the Nuggets. No one did. Um, they just did. There was no one who stood out necessarily. Point wise. Everybody just kind of had a really poor game. Nuggets just they won the first game, so it's kind of surprising. They win that first game on that buzzer beater by Aaron Gordon, the go ahead buzzer, bang, and then they come into this game and just get mollywopped. It just wasn't a close game. So they're going back to Denver now. Game 3, going back to Denver, and I think that even though they just you know, got beat pretty bad, I still believe that they can come back, they can come back and win game 3. I 100% believe that. I think they can come back, win game 3, and, have a 2-1 lead. So that game will be tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see until tomorrow if I'm right, but hopefully I am. Game 1 last night, technically. That was the game of the night. Out of the two games, obviously the Celtics versus Knicks was the better game. And it was just a phenomenal game all around. It was phenomenal. You have, the Celtics once again blowing another 20-point lead, which has just happened already twice in the same series. Unbelievable. First game up 20, Knicks came back and won within the last minute. Same thing happened last night. The Celtics were up 20 again, and the Knicks go on a 17-2 run. The Celtics don't score since in the fourth quarter. They didn't score for 7 straight minutes. They didn't get a single point and a single bucket, and the Knicks took complete advantage of that. They had constant scoring down Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, whoever. They were all contributing so much during that run, and it was a great game, honestly. And then the last 11 seconds, Boston had the ball, and they're driving down court. Jason Tatum with the ball. He's driving, kicks it out, gets it back in the, he drives. He's driving, going for the paint. Steps out of the paint, tries to go for a nice little fadeaway jumper. Mikal Bridges had the defensive play, a great play. He's predicting that Tatum's going to probably pass it out because he sees Mikal crashing on top of him. Mikal reads where he's going to throw it. Just literally just grabs the ball out of his hand and throws it down court so no one can get it. And the Knicks take the 2-0 lead in Boston, which is honestly just unbelievable because first off, I did not believe they'd be up 2-0. I 100% believed Celtics would be up 2-0 going back to MSG. But now I'm wrong because I thought Celtics in 5, Celtics in 6. Like in those, maybe the Knicks got, a win, but I mean, I still believe, Celtics were going to win the series. And with them heading back to MSG, heading to, the Knicks home arena, this is very, concerning. If you're a Celtics fan, you should be scared. Yeah, the Pistons, I'm a Pistons fan. I'm born and raised in Detroit, Metro Detroit area. And I was watching the Pistons that entire series. The Knicks are a great team. The Knicks are a very good team. The reason that they can't close out games, though, is because of their stamina. They're Tom Thibodeau. He doesn't, like to rotate guys in and out. He likes to, keep his 6-7 guys on the court, the same guys, and have, little rotation. And those guys, his players are always gassed, and they lose games. They, choke away games because of that. So, I mean, it's going to be, this is a great series. No one really saw the Knicks in this situation. No one did. No one saw the Knicks being up 2-0. In fact, everybody, I think, had them down 2-0. And honestly, with them heading to MSG, back to New York, this series could end in 4 games. If the Knicks keep playing like this, keep playing the way they have when they're down 15 points and they're coming back, they're gonna 4-0 sweep. They're gonna sweep the Celtics. I mean, There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah, if they can keep it, so they don't have to come back between, they keep it within 5 and 10 instead of being down, 15, 20, and they have to crawl their way back up. They can hold leads. And they can take advantage of that. They can, have their leads and be fine, be, safe instead of having to crawl back down 20 points, which is weird too because the Celtics shouldn't be down 2-0 at all. Celtics are the better team. The Celtics are the better. I will say that they're the better overall team. The players on the Celtics are better overall players. Maybe, you got Brunson is not as good as Tatum or Jaylen Brown. The entire Celtics roster, maybe, the debate for Karl-Anthony Towns versus Porzingis could be up there. But everybody on the Celtics, on their one-on-one matchup, is better than their player they're guarding or going against on the Knicks. And that's just, honestly, I think that's a valid opinion to have. I think the Celtics are a better overall team. The players are better, and they should not be down 2-0. But the Knicks, they're not letting it happen. They're not letting it happen easily. They're playing great comeback basketball. And the reason the Celtics are also down, because, they're 3-point. You'll live by the 3, and you'll die by the 3. And these guys, they can't shoot the 3. This series, they cannot shoot. And, if you can't shoot, you're not going to win games. They should be taking advantage of their height, though, and, take advantage of, their overall better players and drive. They need to get points in the paint, layups, pull-up jumpers, anything to, get the cold, get out of their frozen state where they can't seem to score. But, if you're going to take all these threes and that's how you get there and you keep missing, we're going to lose. Because, like I said, you live by the 3 and you die by the 3. So, overall, Celtics, Knicks, great series. I mean, yeah, no one saw this coming. So, I'm excited to see this back in New York and see if the Knicks can take a 3-0 lead or if it'll end up going back to Boston with a 2-2 split. Who knows? That's all I got for this segment. Next segment, we're sticking with the NBA, talking about the game tonight, the one game tonight. We'll talk about that. After that, going to the NFL, talk about position player needs, what players need to be where, stuff like what teams still need certain spots. After that, going to the NFC North, break that down a little bit. Ending on in the MLB, talking about MLB surprises, teams that are doing well, teams that are doing good that weren't supposed to be doing as good. So we'll get to all that after the break. Whoops.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Deadball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First segment, we're talking NBA, recap the games last night. This segment, segment number 2, we're sticking with the NBA. We're talking about the NBA tonight, the one game tonight. We'll talk about that. After this segment, we're going to the NFL. We're talking NFC North for segment number 3, or segment number 4. Before that, talk about position needs, what teams still need certain players and positions, to stay strong. After that, ending with the MLB, talking about teams that, have been surprising this season, teams that kind of stepped up and gone the extra mile. So, but before we get into any of that, though, tips and donations. Tips and donations are always greatly appreciated. By tipping and donating, you guys are showing your support for us, and we always do appreciate your guys' support. So if you do wish to tip or donate, feel free, and you're in the live stream, feel free to do that with the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you are not in the live stream and wish to tip or donate, feel free to do that with the 2 links in the bio and in the description. Even if you don't want to tip or donate and you still want to show your support, feel free to comment, leave a comment in the live stream, YouTube, shorts, whatever. It doesn't matter. When you guys leave comments, especially in the live stream, it's the easiest for us to see them. And we love being able to talk to the fans, stay, in contact, and you guys have your own opinions. You like talking about, just sports. So feel free to, leave a comment, whatever you need, and I'll get to that as soon as I can and just talk sports. That's my job. That's why I'm here doing what I love. So feel free to leave a comment. But like I said, if you do wish to tip or donate and you're in the live stream, feel free to do that with the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the 2 links in the bio and in the description. With that being said, let's get to topic number 2 for today. With that being the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Golden State Warriors game tonight. This is the only NBA game tonight. Kind of surprising. There's always normally 2, at least 3 games. 3 or 4 when it's, the first round. And now it's normally like 2, but you got just 1 game tonight. So this is it's gonna be a good game. Obviously, first game, the Warriors won. They're currently up 1-0. Currently up 1-0 on Minnesota. And this is not honestly what I saw coming. The one reason the Timberwolves are lost game 1 is because they also, like the Celtics, just cannot seem to shoot recently. In that game, they just shot so poorly. They couldn't hit a shot, and they just couldn't get it done. The Warriors, without Steph Curry, by the way, who only played the first quarter and then left due to a groin injury, they won. He put up 13 points in 13 minutes, but that 13 points was enough for him to, because they won by 11. They won 99-88, and he had his 13 minutes were a very impactful 13 minutes. And even without him, the Warriors stepped up. Buddy Hield played phenomenal, dropped another 33 points. Jimmy Butler had 20. Draymond Green, had a great game. And, even without Steph Curry, the Warriors are still able to pull through. And the Timberwolves, like I've said, the Timberwolves are the better team. They're a better overall team in a lot of categories. They're better in the height category. They have a lot taller players, Naj Reid, Rudy Gobert. And I've said this before, the Timberwolves will win this series based on height alone. If the Warriors cannot shoot, if the Warriors have one poor game where they're just not shooting well, the Timberwolves will 100% be able to take advantage of that, get all the rebounds in the world, and just dominate on that side of in that aspect of the game. If you can't get rebounds, get second chance points, you're not going to win games. And if the Timberwolves are beating you in the offensive side of the rebounding and putting back, rebounds, getting points off that, second chance points, or just getting, defensive rebounds and being able to, get down the court and push it from their defensive side of the ball, getting rebounds, all that, they're going to win games. So if you're getting out-rebounded, you're not going to win games. You're just not. And that's what I think is going to happen. Yeah, the Warriors had a great game, first game, great shooting game, and that's what they won. They shot very well, and the Timberwolves did not. Anthony Edwards had, a very poor outing. Oh, excuse me, sorry. But Anthony Edwards had a very poor outing. They started their game shooting like 0 for 11 from 3. Anthony Edwards, I believe he shot 0 for like 10 from 3. Naj Reid hit the first 3-pointer for them in the second half, like in the third quarter. And, the place erupted because they weren't going to miss every three. They knew, hey, we're not going to miss every three now, which is nice. So, I mean, this is, like I said, an interesting series to say the least. This series is going to be solely based on, how well can the team shoot. In most series, it's not like that at all. In most series, yeah, shooting is a huge factor, but rebounding is a huge factor as well. If you can't, like every series, if you can't get a rebounds, you won't win games. But this series, shooting is very important for the Warriors because, like I said, yeah, they got Draymond Green, who's one of the best defenders in NBA right now. Very aggressive, rebounding player, and he's literally like a Rodman type of build. He's a Dennis Rodman. Lots of rebounds, not a lot of points, very aggressive, physical in the paint. And even though, with that, with those attributes to him, that he just can't get it done. Rudy Gobert is the bigger player and the better player. If they're going one-on-one in the paint, Rudy Gobert wins that every time. Naz Reid wins that every time. It's just the Warriors just don't have the height to keep up. They really just don't, which, it sucks, but that's just the truth. And like I said, the Warriors, the shooting in this series is just so important for the Warriors. If they have a poor shooting outing, they will lose. But if they shoot semi-mediocre, if they're putting up, 35 to 40% shooting from just overall shooting, they're going to win games. They will win games if they're putting up 35 to 45% shooting. They'll win. But that's a lot. But the Warriors are a very good shooting team. Buddy Hield, obviously, his shooting phenomenal for so far the past few games. Jimmy Butler has played phenomenal since just being traded to Golden State. Steph Curry, even though he's out tonight, he played great in that first series against Houston and that first game, even though he played for the first 13 minutes of the game. Or he had, 13 minutes of the playing time that he had. He had 13 points. So, off that metric, if he played 40 minutes, he would have had 40 points. Doubt that, but still. They're just, the Warriors even, with their size limitations, they're still a great team. This is literally the same team from 2022 where no one saw them winning at all. No one saw, this team making a run, and here they are now playing, beating the 2-seed Houston Rockets, now playing the 6-seed Minnesota Timberwolves, and it's just funny because no one saw this coming at all. No one did. No one saw this matchup. Everybody thought it was going to be LeBron and the Lakers versus Steph or versus Jalen Green and the Houston Rockets, but it's not. It's the other way around. I think it's pretty cool. So honestly, overall, this series is going to be very based on. It's a very shooting heavy series. If Golden State shoots poorly, Minnesota will win, and if Minnesota shoots poorly, they still have a chance to win just because they can get rebounds. But the problem with the last night or 2 nights ago, the Warriors just shot so good that even with Minnesota missing all their shots and getting all the rebounds, Golden State just had too big of a lead to come back from. So they were shooting so well, it just didn't matter for Minnesota. That's all I got for this segment. Moving on from the NBA, we're going to the NFL next, talking about player positions, what teams need to be looking out for. They're going to the NFC North after that, ending with the MLB, talking about teams that kind of surprised, been playing good this year. So they weren't supposed to, I guess. But we'll get to all that after the break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Noel Jammer. First two segments, we're talking NBA, talking about the games from last night, and previewed the one game for tonight, which is, Minnesota versus Golden State. This segment number 3, we're going to the NFL, talking about NFL teams and the positions that they need to fill up the roster, to get, become stronger. After that, we're going to the NFC North, talking about that. Ending with the MLB, talking about teams are doing good that no one saw doing good. So we're going to obviously the NFL, like I said. And today, for the first segment, we're talking about teams that need help in certain positions. So, a lot of teams, need help. Every team needs help in every category. So, which teams need help? We'll go by division. We'll just go through, honestly, probably the AFC, just the entirety of it, and just talk about what teams need. So, starting off with the AFC East, we'll go with the Bills first. And the Bills are a very strong team. Obviously, the Bills are a great team. Obviously, they went far in the playoffs, AFC Championship, lost to the Chiefs. Because, that's just how it is now. It's literally like set in stone every year. But who do the Bills need? Sorry, I don't want to say the Chiefs, just them playing them, just whatever. The Bills are kind of in need of another receiver. Keon Coleman, he had a pretty quiet rookie season. Great receiver, but he didn't put up a lot. He didn't put up a crazy amount. He also did miss a few games with injury. So who could the Bills target? Obviously, I think a big player they should target, Elijah Moore, great receiver, played a few seasons. He played he's with the Browns most recently, played with the Jets as well. Great receiver. Very, he's not young, but he's not, old or whatever. But he's still like useful. And they could also re-sign Amari Cooper. Yeah, he's getting a little older and he's losing a little bit of that step, but he's still a great overall receiver. He still has a lot left in the tank, and he's getting a little older, but still, it doesn't matter. He's still a great receiver, and he's got a lot left in the tank. That's all I'm going to say. Got a lot left. The Miami Dolphins. No, they need a lot. They really do need a lot. I think their defense needs a lot to work on, but honestly, they also need more receivers. They really do. They need receivers. Tyreek Hill might be leaving. You never know. I mean, okay, but hypothetically in this scenario, Tyreek Hill is still here. Jalen Waddle. I mean, yeah, they're both still there. So who would be, I guess the outside number 3 guy? There's one guy I want to talk about, Malik Washington. He was, a pretty low pick. Excuse me. He was a late second round pick in 2024. Very quiet, and he had 26 catches last season and 223 yards receiving with no touchdowns. But he had a pretty good it's pretty calm season. It's a good wide receiver 3, all reliable. A wide receiver 3, you don't need a lot. You just need him to, be reliable, catch a few balls, and just get the job done. And, 26 receptions, being targeted about, 30 times, only having 4 drops or 4 incompletions is pretty good. So, Malik Washington could be a great wide receiver 3 for the Dolphins. They need defense, but I think receiver is important for them because Tyreek might leave. But that scenario is just with him staying. The Patriots. They need a lot as well. I mean, they just got Will Campbell out of the draft. Great player for them. But one thing they could use help on is definitely, some cornerback. Obviously, they got Christian Gonzalez. Excuse me. Great overall player. He was a great player in college. He had a pretty quiet season last year. I mean, but there's still plenty to have. Yeah, there's Christian Gonzalez, and they just got Carlton Davis as well. Man, I miss him with the Lions, but it's whatever. So who else could they get? Um, excuse me again. One guy who comes into mind, Craig Woodson. So, calm, pretty quiet guy. He isn't a really big name player, but he's a very solid cornerback. He plays, and he plays just like Christian Gonzalez. Yeah, all cornerbacks play the same, but their play style is very familiar, very similar, and he could fit well in that system. There's always more room for cornerbacks. Cornerbacks are very, if you have two good cornerbacks, you win games. Cornerbacks are just so useful, so just prominent. If you have a good cornerback, you'll win games, and Craig Woodson is that guy for the Patriots to go and get. Ending it off in the NFC East, or AFC East, we're going to the Jets, and the Jets, obviously, well, they still need a lot as well, but quarterback. Yeah, they got Justin Fields, just picked him up. He's still a lot left to prove. Justin Fields is still, a great quarterback with a lot left to prove, but they need people. Aaron Rodgers, he's gone. So who can they get for a backup? Yeah, they still have Tyrod Taylor. They have him backing up Justin Fields right now in New York, who's an all-time great back. I mean, Tyrod Taylor is one of those all-time great backups, I guess you could say. He's not a bad backup at all. You hear Tyrod Taylor and you just think, yeah, backup. I mean, he's never thrown into a starter position where they needed him to start. And, but he's a great player. So Tyrod Taylor, I mean, they do need a quarterback. There's a million quarterbacks in the, free agency they can go get. Surprised Kenny Pickett went to the Browns, honestly. I know he got traded there, but I can 100% seeing him get released and going to New York midway through the season, probably weeks 5 or 6 maybe, but who knows? The Jets do need another quarterback though to back up, an actual veteran quarterback that's not Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is a great quarterback, but he's not a vet quarterback. They need, a vet who can come step up and teach these young guys how to play. That's all in the AFC East. Let's go to the AFC North. AFC North, one of the most gritty conferences, divisions in football. And, it's just always these guys just hit. They just go out and hit. They just go out and hit each other like they hate each other. And it's always great, great to watch. These guys are always these inner AFC North games between opponents like the Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, Browns, whatever. Those games are always great watches. So, sorry. No. Who can the Baltimore Ravens go and get? They have a lot. What they don't have a lot of is left guards. They need some linemen. Their lining, though, isn't bad at all, but it never hurts to improve. And, a guy who comes to my mind, Andrew Voorhees. He was injured in the combine 2 years ago. He went into it being injured, and he fell to the 7th round. But, he did play some great games for them in 2024. So, who could they go get? Some vets. Ben Cleveland would be a great pickup to help the offensive line. He was a great pickup, and he'd be a great pickup for the Ravens. I mean, he's a great vet. Vets on the offensive line are always great. Having a vetted offensive lineman, I feel like it never ends poorly. Getting, offensive linemen who have been tenured in the league for a while are just great things to have. So getting him would be a huge pickup for the Ravens. And the Bengals, go to the Cincinnati Bengals now. Defense, they need defense. And one position they need a lot of is safety. They could go corner as well, but I think safety is something they need heavily on. Their defense tends to get smoked by deep balls. I feel like if you watch a Bengals game, you'll see their safeties getting burnt a lot in deep balls. So who can they go get? So one guy they could go for, he's a special team player. Tyen Anderson. Like I said, special team player, very fast though. He had experience playing safety and corner in college, and even though he's only on the special teams, he still is very fast, very athletic. He's a very good player on their special teams unit who could be, a valuable asset to them. I guess you could say he'd be a valuable player for them to have and someone they need. So they should be utilizing him as a safety position. The Browns. One thing the Browns definitely are not in need of are quarterbacks, I'll tell you that right now. But they do have, some receivers. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy is the number one, Cedric Tillman, number two, and they just signed Deontay Johnson for a 1-year deal, and he's their wide receiver 3. But Johnson, I don't think he'll be. Honestly, he was on 3 or 4 teams last season alone. So I'm not sure if he'll honestly be with the Browns the entire season. But who could the Browns go get? So obviously, like I said, there's a lot of free agent wide receivers in the market. Michael Woods, the second vetted receiver. No one on the Browns is really a vetted player, like receiver-wise. And Michael Woods, the second, or junior, whatever you want to call him, he is a vetted receiver. He'd be a great pickup for them. He only had a few receptions last season, but, having a vet receiver is always helpful. Teaching these guys up, bringing them up, it'd just be a great thing to have for the Browns. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm going to say it, quarterback. Will Howard and Mason Rudolph are their 2, and Skylar Thompson. Those are 3 quarterbacks. They need a quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is most likely going to end up being that guy for them. Aaron Rodgers will most likely end up being the quarterback for the Steelers, before the season starts. I wouldn't be surprised if any day now we see that ESPN notification that Aaron Rodgers has become a Pittsburgh Steeler. But who knows? So that's just a few of the positions that need. I'll probably come back to that, tomorrow and talk about maybe the rest of the AFC or maybe go to the NFC, but who knows? That's all I got for this segment. Next segment, we're going to sticking with the NFL, talking about the NFC North, and then ending off talking about the MLB and teams that are playing good this year that are kind of surprising. So we'll get to that after the break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First 3 segments, we talked about NBA at the start, playoffs, recap the games from last night, and preview the game for tonight. The game tonight, sorry. Last segment, we talked about NFL, what teams, what positions that teams need to target for the rest of before the season starts. This segment, sticking with the NFL. We're going to the NFC North. We'll talk about this. After talk about that, whatever. And then after ending it off, we're going to the MLB, talking about some surprises that have kind of, come through the season so far. So, NFC North. Honestly, probably the toughest division in football, I will say, this year. They were last year, and they probably will be this year as well. You have 3 of the 4 teams making the playoffs. One of them being a 1 seed, the Lions in the 1, you had the Vikings in the 5, and then you had the Steelers and Packers in the 7 spot. And it's kind of crazy, honestly, to think about. The Vikings had 12 wins and they were a 5 seed. They were a 12-win team and they had to play an away game, their first game. It's kind of crazy to think about. Like, you win 12 games, you would think you'd be the first team, you'd be the number 1 seed in your division / conference. But no, you're a 5 seed in the NFC North, man. Sorry, you're second in the NFC North, and you're a 5th seed overall in the NFC, which honestly, it's kind of insane to think about. There's no way a team should have 12 wins and have to play an away game, which is why some teams propose that record. It still matters, but you don't get a guaranteed 1 through 4 seed just for winning your conference. Like, there's no way the the Bucks had a good season this year, but let's say for example the past, no way the 7-10 New Orleans Saints should have the 4 seed because the rest of the NFC South was just horrible. It's just absolutely like that rule does kind of stink. Like there's no there's no reason a team with a losing record should have a guaranteed home game. I think that's just kind of silly, but that's the rule. So, and that's why some teams propose that winning records guarantee you a top 4 seed in the home game, which is fair enough. But NFC North, absolute just like bloodbath in there. Obviously, the Lions, the 1 seed at 13 wins. You had the Vikings with 12 and the 5, and the Packers had 11, or the Packers had 10 wins and they were a 7 seed. And it was actually insane. The Lions were, all 3 NFC North teams lost in the first round. It sucks because, obviously I'm born and raised Lions fan, and that was an absolute brutal watch. Watching the Commanders just play better football than we did. They played great on offense. Jared Goff had just not the best game, and Commanders just won. So that loss was brutal. But this like I said, this NFC North this year is going to be even more deadly, just might be more deadly than last year. I mean, obviously you got all these new young promising rookies just drafted. You got Lions, you get a lot of, offense and defensive help. Bears focused heavily. They got, the Bears took Colston Loveland with their first pick, and he was he wasn't even the best tight end on the board at the time. And with the 10th overall pick, the Bears take Colston Loveland, which honestly I think was actually a good pick. I think that was a great pick by the Bears. Colston Loveland was a great player at Michigan his entire career, and they obviously see something in him that they didn't see in Tyler Warren, and they picked him for a reason. I think that's a great pick. I think honestly Loveland's a better player. He was on a worse team this year, which is why he fell. People thought Warren was better because he was on a better team, but I think Loveland has been better his entire career, and he just happened to be in the not as good team, I guess you could say, compared to Penn State. So that's why people saw Warren going higher, but I always had Loveland over him. I thought he was a better overall player. But the Bears had honestly, the entire NFC North had a great draft. I didn't really follow, the Vikings one too closely. But I was really kind of focused on their quarterback situation. That's one thing I am focused on for the Vikings is their quarterback room. Obviously, they got J.J. McCarthy, who is supposed to, he's going to be probably their starter. But I was really convinced, they were going to sign Aaron Rodgers. I really believe that Aaron Rodgers was going to be a Minnesota Viking a few weeks ago. But that hasn't come through yet. I doubt that it will. But you never know. I mean, there's still plenty of time. He could fall to the Steelers. The Steelers might go get him. I mean, who knows? But this is just kind of a crazy division this year. It's going to be insane to watch. I can't wait, honestly, to watch. Because, these interdivision games are always so fun to watch. NFC North games, especially, watching the Lions play, the Vikings or Packers or Bears on Thanksgiving. That happened this year. It was great. Seeing the Lions win on Thanksgiving this year was I was happy. Granted, it was the Bears, and we should have lost that game. But the Bears head coach Eberflus made a very interesting decision to not use a timeout at the time, that was needed. So, who knows? But honestly, this division is easily a top 3 hardest division right now in the NFL. Possibly, I think it is the hardest. It's just so stacked with talent. The Bears this year had a poor record last year, but the Bears this year are going to be a very good team. I would not be surprised if the Bears manage to sneak into the second or third seed instead of the 4th. I think they will be a good team. I think my standings for this year, I do believe it'll be Lions at the 1, Vikings at the 2, Bears at the 3, Packers at the 4. I think the Packers have an off year, even though they just had a great draft. Took a receiver in the first round with their first pick since it was their first time doing that since the early 2000s, and they got a great receiver out of Texas. I mean, he was Texas. The receiver they got, phenomenal. I mean, he was a phenomenal player for Texas all season. Huge reason they were in the playoffs, and he did great against ASU. Had a great game against them, and kind of the reason they won that game. So, even with that, even if they had a great draft, I do believe the Bears have a great year and sneak into that 3 seed. Possibly, the Bears hype has been it happens every year with the Bears. I've noticed they get all this hype early on, through the draft or whatever, and then they just have just a horrible year. So I kind of hope that's not the case for them this year. I do believe they have a good year this year, but I mean, who knows? We'll have to wait and see if that really happens. But I do think they'll end up getting 9 or 10 wins this year. They have a pretty weak schedule as well, so I do believe they have a high possibility of getting 9 or 10 wins and making the wild card this year, which I honestly wouldn't be opposed of seeing. Even though I'm a Lions fan, I don't like them. Seeing the Bears succeed, it's better than watching the Packers succeed. I'll say that. So I wouldn't be mad about that. But this division is honestly, in my opinion, the hardest in football this year, and it was last year. And this year, I think it's only going to get harder from here. So it's going to be a great watching all these guys play, but only time will tell if I'm right, and I think I will be. So, yeah. That's all I got for this segment. The next segment and the final segment, we're going to the MLB, talking about some surprises that have kind of happened this year that no one really saw coming. So we'll get to that after the break. Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First 4 segments, it was NBA and NFL. First 2 with the NBA. Talked about the games from last night. And talked about the one game tonight. Previewed that. Segment 3 and 4, we were talking NFL. Talked about teams, player positions that teams need to focus on and fill in to become a better overall team. And last segment, we talked about the NFC North. This segment number 5, we're going to the MLB, and we're talking about MLB surprises, and just why they're happening. So, as of right now, we're about 6-7 weeks into the MLB season, and honestly, there has been a lot of surprises, stuff that people didn't see coming, and I kind of want to talk about some of the things that, why they're happening. So one thing I want to talk about, my Detroit Tigers. Spencer Torkelson, he is finally hitting, finally playing like the number 1 overall pick that the Tigers drafted him at. They picked him at number 1 in the 2020 MLB draft. They took Torkelson out of ASU, and they saw something in him, and everybody did. But for the past 2 seasons, he didn't show it. He was not showing to be, he wasn't showing that he was the first overall pick. And it was pretty bad because, he was so promising coming out of, college, great player at ASU. And this was going to be his breakout year. It was destined to be, and it has been. He has played phenomenal for, excuse me. He played phenomenal this year compared to his last year. He didn't play well last year at all. He was sent down in the minors last year, midway through the season, to try to get his confidence back. And this year, he's already played even through the first 6 weeks of the season, he has already played so much better than what he has last year. He has, through 36 games, he already has the same amount of home runs he did last year while having an OPS of 800.879. He has an 879 OPS right now, which is honestly insane. He's hitting phenomenal. And he's expected to finish, at this rate, top 5% this year in slugging percentage. So he's just raking. He's just hitting great. And, he's just playing great. He's compared to last year. I mean, his slugging percentage last year, 211th out of 252. He just couldn't hit last year. And this year, he's expected to finish in the top 5 percentile of, MLB hitters this year for that stat, which is honestly insane to think about. And I'm so happy that, he's finally, improving. Because he's a great player. Like I said, he was the first overall pick for the Tigers. And I was honestly very nervous this year. This year, I didn't want to see Torque, get sent down and possibly relegated again, maybe released, maybe cut. I didn't want to see that. He's a first overall pick. I was very high on him. He's a first overall pick. How can't you be high on him? But he has really come through this year. He's really come through and really proved, that he deserves to be, that he was the first overall pick for a reason. And, I'm really just happy that he has found his momentum, found his groove. After he was sent down to AAA last year, I think his trip down to AAA last year was kind of his make or break situation. If he was doing poor down there, he would have stayed down there, honestly, all of last year and maybe some of this year. But he was down there for a few weeks last year, and he really just kind of dominated. He really dominated. He really threw. I think he was he was one of the best hitters in AAA last year just through his time down there. He had one of the best percentages, on base percentages, hitting percentages. He was just slugging. He was doing everything right. And he got his confidence up because he started off pretty poor in his MLB career, so his confidence was pretty low. And getting relegated back down to AAA, he got his confidence back up, and he came back up last year, played better, and he just through the first 6 weeks this year, he's just really proven to be a reason that he was a first overall pick for a reason, and he 100% deserved it. The way he's playing now. It's showing that, he is the first overall pick for a reason. Great player. Deserves all the recognition in the world right now. And honestly, as a Tigers fan, I couldn't be happier, seeing him succeed in this, seeing him succeed right now. And, I'm happy for it. So, he's doing great. Another thing I want to talk about. Max Muncy is not hitting well at all. Or home run wise, I guess you could say. He has not hit well at hitting home runs at all this year. He has 106 plate appearances before hitting his first home run this year in 2025, which, that's the longest stint of his career before getting a home run. 106 at bat, 106 times at the plate, and not a single home run for Muncy. Very surprising. Very surprising considering how many he hit last year. And just in his career, he has always been a dominant home run hitter. Anytime in his career, no matter where he is, he's always been a dominant hitter. And that's just the truth. If you follow Max Muncy, you know that he's one of the best hitters in the current league today. So, he spent, kind of the first month of the season this year trying to, honestly, just, once he realized he wasn't hitting the ball, not even home runs, just hitting the ball, he kind of slowed it down, and he realized, okay, I can't just go for home runs. I have to get my momentum back, get my confidence back before you even think about going yard again. And he spent the first few months trying to, sync up eye contact, I guess. Just get contact, see ball, hit ball. He was just trying to get contact, get his confidence back. And it worked. He was hitting better. And, that first month this year was a very, very rough for him. He just wasn't hitting well. He wasn't hitting any home runs. And, he's finally getting kind of his confidence back, which is good because Max Muncy is a great player. He's overall, he like I said, he's a great player, but he only has one home run. It's kind of insane that Max Muncy, one of the best hitters in the league, just only has 1 home run. And he has the same amount of home runs right now as some pretty big name players. For example, Xander Bogaerts only has 1 home run as well. Very surprising to hear that as well. Xander Bogaerts is honestly he's a phenomenal player. I mean, he really is. What can't he do? But Muncy with the Dodgers, I mean, they kind of, I wouldn't say they started off 9-0. You start off the year 9-0, you're going to do great things. But, they lose their first game, go on a little losing streak, and they lost their momentum for a little bit there. But they got it back now, which is good. But Muncy still hasn't, For a team, that wants to win another pennant since 2020, if they want to win another one, they need all their guys in their best game, and Muncy is just not playing his best. And, like I said, if you want to win it all, go deep in October, November, whatever, you have to beat your best all year round. And Muncy, I think he can probably come out of the slump. He 100% can. He's been in slumps before, so I can totally see him coming out of the slump. It's only a matter of time. He's a great hitter his entire career, and he was a great hitter last year as well. But this year, I'm not sure. Slumps happen. At this point, it's a matter of just getting his confidence back and proving that he's still one of the best in the league. So, only a matter of time before that happens, but I hope he gets out of the slump soon because he's a great player who I enjoy watching. So, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. Your continuous support really means the world to us, so please feel free to like, comment, and share with anybody you know. If you wish to stay up to date with all things GSMC, make sure to follow us on all of our social medias, with that being, Instagram, Snapchat, X/Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Go on any social media, search GSMC Sports Network, and hit us with a follow to stay up to date with all things GSMC. But like I said, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Have a good one.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit.